My name is Ivy Jones. I come from Jamaica.
My name is Catherine Elcock. My country of birth is St. Lucia.
Oh, my name is Josephine Lloyd.
My name's Carol and I was born in Jamaica.
I came here 15th of August 1960.
Well, my name is Beresford. I arrived in England in 1965. Came from Jamaica, born in Kingston, grew up in the parish of St. Catherine.
I came to England, London, at the age of 11. When I came to England, when we came off the train at Southampton, it was cold. That was it, the cold.
The weather was very warm, but I was very cold.
It was really weird. It was bleak as it was March time. It was very bleak. I looked at these smoke coming out of the chimneys and everywhere. I thought it was like a place with just loaded with factories.
I think coming to England was my first real experience of trauma. You know, look at it. So I think all of that is wrapped up in it. So my first impression, it was great. But you're so wrapped up with emotions, really. So the impression of whatever is just a confused, blurred memory, yeah.
And what surprised me is actually turning up at the house that my mum at the time had bought with two of her cousins in North London. And going up the steps and you just see this one door and you're wondering what lies behind it. Is it just one room? But so that was my first impression, is that it was dark, it was bleak. I didn't feel happy about the place or anything like that. And as I say, you know, just thinking, oh my God, it's one room. But once I got in there, I thought, oh, well, at least it's not, you know, got somewhere by myself to sleep. We have a living room, that sort of thing. But, you know, coming at that age, you're just sort of with just mixed feelings. It's like you're in a daze. That's how I can describe it, because everything is so new. You're living like bright sunshine and pretty little houses, and then you come to these you know, brick houses. So it was a cultural shock, really.
When I came to England, my first impression was to look at the place and to see the wasting.
What was being wasted?
The slavery money. I mustn't say that, do I?
You can say.
Coming from St. Lucia, we missed the first cruise boat that we were supposed to come on, so we had to make it another journey and catch the second one. We came on the second one on the cruise ship, but it was really rough because we weren't, as children, we was not used to the sea or anything like that. It was rough for us. We spent most of our time in the cabin. We didn't go up the deck or anywhere, with just the cabin.
My husband was here 1 year before me.
Mm-hmm.
So he take me around to see what the place is like. What he know, he didn't know a lot. But he just wanted to show me the place to see, mostly the shopping. Where to go and shop and so on.
Yeah, I arrived in London when I was 13. My journey was pretty good because I was seeing my mum, who I hadn't seen for 5 years. So came on BOAC back in the day. Yeah, so so my journey was pretty good, and it was just lovely to see my mum. But I did miss my sister because she came later. And I missed my grandmother very much so. So it was kind of a mixture of feelings. Nice to see my mum, but really sad to leave my brother and my sister back in Jamaica and my grandmother, you know.
We came with my auntie because my mum was already here. I came with my auntie and my two other sisters.
I'm not sure. What I most enjoy is to...
What I most enjoy? Jesus, that's some questions. I can't think of anything that I enjoyed about it.
I most enjoy to go to work. That is what I most enjoy, to go around and go to work. My job was stitching bag asbestos. Was to work in the asbestos factory. I was a machinist. Make the bag, then you have people from different islands, fill them with asbestos. And that was, at the time I didn't know it was a dangerous job, but it was dangerous for your lungs. Because that is, asbestos is to keep the, not like now, is to keep the boiler warm. You know, we make the bag, then you have a set of people who stuff it to keep it with asbestos, and it keep boiler warm. So that was my first job.
When I got older, I worked in a factory. I work in Debenhams and, Back and Hitman, which is at Whitechapel. I work in the office there, in the factory. Then I had my daughter from Back and Hitman. Then I worked in Debenhams factory, which was at Canning Town, Custom House, Ford Park Road. I worked there.
I worked at the residential home for the elderly. That was opened in, and I was one of the first people who started work there. In the name of the home was William Payton House. But I had some bad experience there with these residents because some of them were so prejudiced. You know, it was just, but I loved working there because I used to say to the residents, I did not come here for you to abuse me. I came to do a job, and I'm doing it. I'll clean you, wash you, bathe you, get you ready for breakfast, whatever. And I'm not here to take your insults.
I came as a nurse. I expected to just go and do nursing, but what I wanted to do was midwifery. We had to be taken somewhere up Harrow Road to register. When I arrived in there, the lady put me to sit down and asked me my name and where do I come from and whatnot. Then she said, what job are you looking for? So I said to her, I want to do nursing. Then she said, have you got the Jamaica local? She looked at me head to toe. Have you got the Jamaica local? I said, excuse me, I'm not Jamaican. What is a Jamaica local? Then she said, oh, you people, you just want to come up here and look for a big job and whatnot. But anyway, you come back next week and I will look for an orderly's job for you. But I couldn't understand her telling me about Jamaica local. I'm not Jamaican. I had never heard of Jamaica local. So, you know, I find out, my husband said, don't bother. We will apply ourselves and forget about her. Anyway, we applied and I got a job at Grove Park Hospital. It took me there, but as a student nurse to do training, not to go and work, because our certificate was not recognized. Nobody heard of Dominica. Nobody knew about Dominica's certificate. So the lady turned around and told me, well, when you go and come back next week and I will look for an orderly's job for you. What is an orderly's job? I don't know. Then I find out an orderly's job was the domestic cleaning, the floors and the wards and everything like that. They were the cleaners doing that. Then my husband said, no, you're not doing that. We will apply ourselves, and then that is how I joined Grove Park. After I did the 3 years and I got my certificate, I took the certificate all the way from Hackney and go to Harrow Road to find the lady. When I reached there, I asked I did not know her name, but I described her. And the lady, the other one started laughing. She started laughing. Say, you described her to the T, you know, but she's no longer with us. I said, excuse me, where is she? She said, she's retired. She's retired. So I did not have time to meet her and thank her for the way she treated me. But I was really upset, and I went home and cried. And that, I did not like England, because it's cold. Came in November, it's very cold. There is snow everywhere, and I don't understand why these people are speeding all the way in the snow. It was awful. I kept on crying. I told my husband, I want to go back home. Then he said, well, what will you tell your dad? What would I tell my dad? I don't know. Because he didn't want me to come here.
My name is Joy White and my family's from Jamaica.
My name is Pamela Clark, born Pamela David, and I was born in the country of Dominica in Roseau.
My name is Angela Bannister and I'm from Jamaica.
My parents came to England in the 1950s. They came separately. They met when they met here in London. My mum came in 1954 and went to Notting Hill Gate first, I think. She had a letter of introduction to somebody that her parents knew. And my dad came in 1955, same thing, 2 weeks or so on a boat. He said that he stopped in the Azores on the way here. And when he left Jamaica, he was 20, and he arrived in Southampton on his 21st birthday.
I came to England in '66 to join my parents, who'd come up 2 years earlier, so we hadn't been left that long. The journey was on the Escania, which was a ship, one of the ships that would visit Dominica. It was a Spanish ship, my mother said, and I travelled with my siblings. I was the eldest of 5, and I was in charge of them as the eldest. And we travelled unaccompanied in the ship's nursery.
I left Roseau on the Columbia, and I embarked at Southampton, and then from there I took a train to Victoria. From Victoria, my cousin picked me up and went to Penge, where I stayed with her for a few years.
I was 13 years old when I arrived in London. I travelled from Jamaica to America and from America to London. My first impression was why it was so dark and cloudy, why there was smoke coming from the roof, and just there was no sun. It was dim and dreary.
For the first time, I found myself seated at a table with a buffet breakfast with butter in little curls, and I was wondering what everything was. What were those little curls of butter? A little pile, all nicely curled up, and there was a strange dry food, and I didn't know what it was. And I asked my brother, what's that? What is that? And I tasted one, it was a bit crunchy, and he said, don't you know anything? That's fried lettuce, don't you even know that? Anyway, it turned out it was cornflakes. Mr. Know-it-all didn't know it all.
So when they talk about their early days, it was a story of being on the move, of trying to find a place to live, of it being very cold and very cold and quite unfriendly in some places. My mum, she's got many stories. One of the stories she will tell you is that she thought that they'd put ice in the bed because it was so cold, and she hadn't experienced cold like that before.
And there they were, my mum and dad, with a pile of black duffel coats for the 5 of us, different sizes, and it was cold. There was steam, well, we thought it was smoke, didn't know it was steam at the time, coming out of our mouths. We got dressed, went down the gangplank off the ship, and we took a taxi. I remember the train journey, and we were travelling on a train to London. We saw the houses along the way. Everything was grey and murky and foggy. It was November the 11th, 1966. My baby brother was only 2 years old, but he was a good talker, and he said, "I don't like England." So my mum said, "Why not?" And he said, "It's only bakeries England have, I don't like England." Well, his only experience with chimneys and smoke was from the bakeries, the local bakeries in Dominica, in the countryside.
The people was very, very prejudiced. But that was all right for me.
Why?
No, they say people on the street, not children, grown up, will say, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be in here." And I said, "You were in my country for 650 years. How many generations is that? You divide it up and tell me how many generations you get in 650 years. So I am going to stay here."
The Barking was like a no-go area. Black people were not entertained in Barking, the Barking area. And I remember my brother, he was only about 14, he came home crying because he was in Barking and the Teddy Boys chased him out of Barking. That's how bad it was. And they also had something called Packy bashing. You've heard about Packy bashing? So one day I was standing at the bus stop in Banner Park, and this white boy, about 16, 17, came up to me and he goes, "Hello, Packy." And I'm thinking, why? I'm not a Pakistani. But because my hair was long, he thought I was from Pakistan. So he goes, "Hello, Packy." I felt a bit uncomfortable, so I sort of moved away from him. Yeah. And then my next door neighbor, she was very racist as well, an English lady, very, very racist. Because she lived on her own, my parents used to invite her over for Christmas dinner and have a drink, whatever. She used to come, and we used to speak to her over the fence, but meeting her on the road is as if she had never seen you in her life. She'd just walk away from you, or you were on the bus together. She wouldn't sit near us on the bus, although she used to speak to us over the fence, and she used to come to my house. We got off the bus, she'd go in one direction, I'd go in the other direction. Because to get to my road, there was 2 ways, so she'd go the other way.
School, that was a challenging environment. On the whole, I found it quite. I think there's two separate. There was came here in the junior school, primary school, whatever. So that was a lot different from obviously with the secondary school. But the junior school thing was horrible. I found the whole experience horrible. I didn't really feel it as a learning experience. In the Caribbean, I was quite academically quite good because obviously you're not too good all the emotional thing. You can just concentrate on the thing. But coming to England, there's all that. It's the emotional stuff that gets in the way of the education and all the rest of it. So I found my junior school quite horrible. I experienced real racism the first time there from a teacher. Do you know, which was quite difficult to deal with because you did have experience and the teachers were supposed to be nurturing and I had a teacher who was out and out racist and I did that much. So yeah, so my junior school that whole experience was probably horrible. With the exception, I got to meet a few lifelong friends in my junior school. So I think that's about the only positive thing that I could actually think about it.
I tried to settle in, but in the end I used to cry and say to my mum, can you send me back? And she said to me, when you work your own money, you can go back. You know, so that was how I felt. Like after the joy of seeing my mum, I really did sort of struggle to get used to the place and just going into a school that I felt kept me back, because a lot of the things that they were teaching, I'd already gone through those subjects in Jamaica. And I think because of that, it kind of, the achievement that I should have had for myself, I didn't feel motivated enough to do it, to gain the sort of higher education that I would have if I'd remained in Jamaica. I remember the lunches being so awful that I used to pay the lunch money and then I used to go home and have crackers and orange juice for lunch because I just couldn't stomach it. It took quite a while and it was a bit of a challenge to settle in, because the school I went to, there weren't many black kids. There was only 7 black kids in a school of nearly 300. And we pretty much as a group, even though by that time I was in the 3rd year in school, it's like the 7 of us just grouped together. And back even then, as much as it's only 7 of us, and I mean quite a lot of them were young, there was only 4 of us that were like in our upper teens, you know. And the teachers used to say, we have to break up this little group. We can't have you all sticking together like that. And honestly, it was really weird. And 7 kids, and you have like 200, nearly 300 white kids in the school, and even back then it's like they felt threatened by us, you know. So that as well was kind of like, well, why, you know, why? You sort of think, well, what's the matter with 7 people from the Caribbean, Barbados, Jamaica, West St. Vincent, I remember, and Guyana, and we're sticking together, and why is that a problem?
Well, that's the racism I experienced, because when we moved to Custom House, I was given corner house because you were black. You were given corner house because they said that black people were the one who made noise. So if they put them in each road, which that's where I experienced that, in each road they had the corner house a black person was living in when I was walking around.
I just remember my mum saying she'd left a 3-bedroom house with inside bathroom, flushing toilet, shower, blue toilet and sink in Dominica, and we arrived at this house with no bathroom in the house. There was no bathroom. During the week, she used a steel bath pan and bathed us in the kitchen, boiled in kettles. But at the weekend, my dad took us to Leighton Baths, where Tesco's is now, and a lady would run a bath tub full. We were only little, so it was great. We were able to paddle and swim, but we had our own bath. And that's what people in Leighton did in those days, because those houses were Victorian houses that have been built with no bathroom.
My favourite food was fish and chips. Yeah.
I'll start with what food I didn't like. I didn't like Saturday soup. I did not like Saturday soup because my mother would use lamb's neck and she would put greens in, and no, I did not like that at all. I love school dinners. I love school dinners. We had a roast dinner every day at Tom Hood, and we had different desserts like spotted egg. We had jam tarts and custard. We had pink sponge with pink custard, or chocolate sponge with chocolate custard. I love school dinners. I don't know why people say they didn't like school dinners. I love school dinners.
A If I think about my mum, she would say that her biggest achievement was getting that BT job. She left Jamaica, having been a teacher, and wanting to come here and have a better life, and couldn't get that kind of work for a very long time because of the way that the UK was at that time, and it was kind of openly discriminatory and openly hostile. So she couldn't initially get to do the work that she wanted to do. Yeah, so I suppose she would say one of her big achievements is getting and holding on to that job. And she would tell you about working in Lion's Tea Shop, about being, when you get the piecework from the factory, she used to do all of that, and we used to help her. All those kinds of jobs, working in factories, all of those things. So to get to the kind of job that she should have had all those years later, and to be able to raise 5 children in this place, yeah, that would be it. And for my dad, I suppose, to be able to have the opportunity to leave because he couldn't be the person that he wanted to be here, and he had to leave to do that. And so I suppose that would be, yeah. It's hard to speak on behalf of somebody else, I think, but from where I'm sitting, that's what it looks like to me.
The biggest thing I think I've achieved was to bring my children up, and then I saw my grandchildren being born, and the way I portrayed them, as now I have had children and they've got children of their own. And there is something I always used to say, this is roots. And we say the circle, that's one of my saying. I say to my children, this is the circle of life, because I have had you all and you all have had your children. The circle is growing, still going.
Well, I did not achieve what I came here to do, so well, I've had 5 lovely kids, and well, they all did well, so.
Oh well, I think my biggest achievement was gaining an O-level in arts and craft. They think that I just arrived from Jamaica. Yeah, because in them days I want to be an artist, and they said being black that wouldn't be the right thing for you. So I went into civil service. So I think my biggest achievement is getting the O-level. When the administrator said to help your English you got to read. So yes, getting an O-level.
Coming here, as I say, it was a culture shock. Having gone through the system and some of the comments you had on the racism you face in your job, it has made me a better person, because I kind of think for you to have those kind of views about people simply because of the color of their skin, rather than how they project themselves and how you behave as a human being, is quite sad. And also I have to really credit my parents, especially my father. From a young age, he sort of instilled in us that nobody is better than you. So the racism that I faced, it was like water off a duck's back. I just simply leave. I didn't complain because I didn't want them to think I'm one of these black people who have a chip on my shoulder because I'm above that. So in terms of that, it's really taught me a lot about human behavior and the challenges that you face when you're of an ethnic group. And it's made me a stronger person, that I kind of just think, it's just a bunch of people who really should just grow up and be human, really, and not see people who are different as a threat.
My biggest achievement is to educate my children. High standard education as much as you can go to. I take them to the crossroad. And after that, they can go east, west, north, or south. But I'm going to make sure they have education. And I'm a little child now, you know. I have to do what everybody do. I have to wear what I have to do what everybody say.
Indeed.
I have to wear what they say. That is not good. You take out that.
Yes, everybody telling you.
When the coalman passed, there was a horse and the coalman will pass. You had to buy the coal to put in the fire. We had chimneys. You don't know that. You don't know about chimneys. You just know you turn it on and it
Oh, it makes nice garden flowers.
I haven't disappointed you with the school
No,
dinners.
it's
You're probably
amazing.
hoping to hear Caribbean food.
No, that's
Okay.
what I want. So I think that's what I want. Because people can it's relatable. I do.
Okay.
And I enjoyed magazines because I was able to get Judy, Bounty, Fabulous 208 and things like that. And I love reading. So I was able to order all my magazines and get them, yes, which I couldn't do in Jamaica. So that's what I enjoyed. And up to this day, I enjoy reading.
Because we, in England, Black British, we're just different from other British as well. And I think one of the things I'm trying to get across to Black people is that we might just be black in this country. We're black in this country, right? To everybody, we're black. But once we leave England, we're no longer just black. All of a sudden, we become British. We become English. I was in Malawi, and I was talking to people, and they were like, English, I'm Jamaican. I went to France, and they were like, this guy was showing me his attitude, and I thought it was because it was racist, but it wasn't, because he looked at me as English. You go to Jamaica, they say, well, I'm English. So we do have an identity that we don't recognize. We need to build on that. It's the same thing, but once we leave these shores, we're no longer black. We automatically become English, and we get back a Ephraim, we just become black again. We need to recognize that thing and build on it. And you talk to Americans, English people, they're like, oh yeah, you know, you're different. We need to recognize that. We really have something here that's amazing, but we don't really know how to do it.